Hi everyone, Sabrina here, Books at the Wormberg. I finished Catching Fire, 2 days ago now, so I'm going to try really hard not to mix it up with Mockingjay, which I've also just finished. And I'm aware that I have talked about bits in Catching Fire in my Hunger Games response, so bear with me, it's going to be a mess. Also, spoilers ahead, because, you know, I can't talk about these books without spoilers. I'm sorry. Catching Fire is my favourite book of the three. It's also my favourite film of the four. I think it does a really good job of continuing the build of rebellion, Katniss's reluctant involvement and basic ignorance of the whole thing as well, bless her. And I think it does a really good job of just showing how over a course of, 6-7 months at the most, everything just kind of like falls apart for Katniss, even more so than surviving the first Hunger Games. So we start off at the beginning, and they're going to have to do their victory tour, which is midpoint between the two games. So the games, as far as I'm aware, the reaping happens in like July. I think it's July the 4th, someone has said. And so for me, the victory tour happens around like the Christmas period. So clearly Christmas is no longer celebrated in the capital, or any midwinter festival, that just don't exist, which is terrifying. So everything in Panem revolves around the Hunger Games, everything. The economy, the system, their entire social calendar, it all revolves around the Hunger Games. Could you imagine a society where killing children is literally what everything's based off? Oh my god, that's awful. So Katniss is going to have to go and pretend that she's madly in love with Peter again on the tour. But it's part of the going around, seeing all the districts, doing the little speech, saying some words, and making out that the Hunger Games are a really good thing, and we're going to keep doing them, and we're proud to be victors and represent our district. There's a big party in the capital that they intend to, so we get to meet some of the capital people there. It's the first time we meet the new head games maker, Plutard. And Katniss gets a little bit of semblance of just how out of touch the capital people really are. The fact that there's all this food, and she's like, oh, well, I have one mouthful of everything so I can taste it all. And, you know, she gives up by halfway. And then her little team come over, her makeup team come over and go, oh, you drink this? And Peter goes to drink it. And they go, no, do it in the loos, because it'll make you bring everything up. And Katniss is like, hold on, we've got people in the districts literally starving, and you're throwing up food you've eaten in order just to eat more food. And just this realisation that they're so out of touch with reality. So she's got all that going on with the victory tour and everything. But also Snow is trying to maintain control and some semblance of order. And he's aware that rebellion is rising in some of the other districts. I mean, 11 in particular, which is Rue's district. 8 is not doing great either, and 3 possibly is on the go. And so he's basically threatened Katniss. It's like, you've got to convince me that this whole thing isn't an act, that you do love Peter, and you need to quash any signs of rebellion. And Katniss goes on this tour and just realises she's been given an impossible task. This rebellion has been brewing for a long time. It's now going to happen. It doesn't matter what she does. And the realisation that she gets, it's like, I can't win this. I can't do this. How am I going to keep Peter alive? How am I going to keep Prim alive? And then in retaliation almost of her failure, he changes the peacekeepers that are in District 12. So they're crueler, they're harsher. And what really struck me is when Gale gets a whipping, because he comes back from having been in the woods, he comes back in with a turkey, he goes to see the head peacekeeper like he normally would to do the trade, and it's a different guy. And he's instantly taken to the whipping block and, literally lashed almost to death. Had Peter and Haymitch and Katniss not intervened, Gale would be dead. As simple as that. And, he's made an example of straight up there. And one of the other peacekeepers, Darius, who's been a friend, inverted commas, because obviously he's still peacekeeper, but, he's laid back and easygoing and all that. He tried to stand up and got beaten for his efforts as well. He's turned into an A-box we meet later. And anyway, they take Gale to Katniss's mum, because she has the healing skills and that. And Katniss can't imagine anyone surviving this. And Haymitch says something like, don't worry, she's seen a lot worse previously, and you think, my God, you know, this is what it used to be like. 12 have got used to having quite a soft boot at their neck, that, you know, yeah, they're not great, and the former headpiece keeper was a sleazy guy who would take girls to his bed in exchange for coin when they were starving. So, you know, not a nice person at all, really. He's still abuse of his power. But in comparison, the discipline that 12 have been under has been very lenient for Katniss's entire life. She has no idea what it used to be like under the more harsh regimes that clearly her mum and Haymitch have grown up with. And it's like, well, was it after Haymitch won his games that it went into full swing about keeping down the people of 12? And the peacekeepers were brutal and, you know, did beat and kill the people. And it's like, is that a response to him winning his games? So I'm really looking forward to reading Sunrise of the Reaping. I've not read it yet. To actually see, you know, is there a direct correlation with the way that the district was treated because of what Haymitch did in his games? I don't know. So we've got all that going on in 12. So Katniss, you know, she wants to run away and she realises she can't because she, you know, it's too late. She can't save people in 12. She's trapped. You really feel her sense of trap. I mean, she's 17 at this point now. She is just despairing. Nothing she can think of or nothing she does is either enough or it's going to be enough. And so she's trapped in this vicious game again, where she again is just trying to survive and keep the ones that she cares about close and try not to have so many people in her district killed or hurt because of what she represents as like this symbol that she never even asked for. And then there's the whole tweet. We've got the quarter quell coming up, and she's like, oh my God, I'm going to be mentoring 2 kids from District 12. And she stops walking past the school because she can't face the fact that she'll probably be mentoring 2 of those faces. And the announcement comes just after they've announced, you know, choose Katniss's wedding dress. And it's going to be a Victor's quarter quell. Now, obviously, this goes down like a lead balloon because Katniss knows, eventually, she figures it out that she is going to be going back into the arena because she's the only female survivor of the District 12. And then there's this whole thing about, well, how do we keep Peter safe? And eventually, through a drunken haze, an awful lot of trauma and thrashing it out, her and Haymitch come up with a plan with basically one way or another, they're going to keep Peter alive. It's going to be him this time and no questions asked. So you've got that going on. So it's going to be a Victor's quarter quell and you can feel the tension kind of rising. You can feel the feelings shift within the capital, the way that, you know, her makeup team is really despondent because they thought they wouldn't be sending her back into the, and there they are literally prepping her to go back into the arena, so they're absolutely heartbroken. Apparently quite a few people in the capital are not happy because they've got to know the victors over the years. They're quite precious about them, and obviously you've got the interviews and Peter throwing the great "if it wasn't for the baby" line, Joanna being absolutely outraged, fully outraged at this, and it's like, my God, you know, she's just gone for it. She's like full blown, I'm so pissed at you, how could you do this to me, you lied to me, kind of thing. So she really rallies up the crowd as well, and it's really interesting just seeing little moments where you start to understand that there's people in the capital not happy, that they see this as unfair, unjust, and, you know, Snow's trying to make out that this was decided many years ago by this big ceremony of bringing out the wooden box with the yellowed envelopes, and it's like, we know that the capital only show us what they want us to see, because in training, Peter and Katniss watch the other victors' games, but of course they're capital clipped, so you only get to see the highlights and that. I mean, even at the end of the Hunger Games, when we get to see Peter and Katniss's own games, and the fact that it's like retold, and Katniss is watching it thinking Peter's made out to be actually quite stoic and protecting me and all that, and she goes, and I'm just like this fearless hunting machine who doesn't give a damn until I realise that I can save Peter. And she goes, and then I look more sympathetic. But she goes, the way that that film is put together presents a very different picture to how Katniss remembers it in the games herself. So there's this whole idea of manipulation through your memories, but also, you know, what you're visually seeing. Of course, when we see something, we tend to remember that more, and it overwrites our own memories, which, as I'm saying it, becomes very ironic because of what happens in Mockingjay. Oh my God. Bloody hell, Suzanne Collins, you're amazing. I hadn't even twigged that before either. That is amazing. Anyway, so we get into the games. There's not much in this book that is actually within the games, but, you know, obviously, here we go. Yeah, so that's like the games bit. Oh, Sinner's death. Oh my god. Oh yes, in that. I mean, it's pretty close to how they do it. This bit, here we go. Suddenly the door behind him bursts open and 3 peacekeepers spring into the room. 2 pin Sinner's arms behind him and cuff him, while the third hits him in the temple with such force he's knocked to his knees, but they keep hitting him with metal-studded gloves, opening gashes on his face and body. I'm screaming my head off, banging on the unyielding glass, trying to reach him. The peacekeepers ignore me completely as they drag Sinner's limp body from the room. All that's left are smears of blood on the floor. Sinner's death. You know it's deliberate, you know it's been planned at that point to completely try and break Katniss. Everything that's done to her is to break her, making her choose a wedding dress, realising she's going to have to marry Peter, that she'll be expected to have children, and the realisation that she only has, you know, her biggest fear why she won't have children is one day her children will be expected to go into the arena. Children of 2 victors. She goes, there's no question. Her children would end up in the games, and that's Katniss figuring out that actually they can literally rig anything that they want, the Capitol, and she knows her children will end up in the games. And it begs the question, how many other victors' children have ended up in the games? Anyway, so Sinner's literally beaten to a pulp in front of her before she goes up to the games. I think the film did a really good job of showing that level of shock and brutality. I mean, you kind of suspect that Sinner's not going to get away with what he did by turning her literally into a mockingjay. He's not going to get away with that. You know that from watching the films. You know that from reading the book. But to see that level of sadistic brutality in front of Katniss, it's deliberate to put her off. Yeah, so literally the third part is the games. Or, yeah, the death ring, basically, to try and kill off as many victors as absolutely possible. I mean, it's almost like after 75 years. And, you know, there aren't many victors left that have made it this far. It's like they're trying to just wipe all the victors out. So the people of the Capitol don't have anybody to get attached to. And therefore the games can, like, reset and start all over again because you don't care about anybody. It's quite interesting because it's like, obviously there's this theory that it was made a victor's game purely to get rid of Katniss. It's like, we need to get rid of Katniss, we need to get rid of Peter, we need someone to win who we can control, or at least will play the part that we need them to play. So you've got all that going on, but it's like, was actually this a good idea? Was it good an idea to put the victors in when they are so beloved by the people of the Capitol? Was this just fanning the flames? I don't know. I mean, I'd love to actually sit down. I need to watch some more videos about Catching Fire. I'm seeing a lot of Hunger Games, and I'm seeing quite a bit of Sunrise and the Reaping, which obviously I'm avoiding because spoilers massively. And thank you to everyone who puts up a big spoiler warning sign on your videos, because I do really appreciate that. But it's right, why does Snow decide a victor's quell? I mean, I get it, you know, getting rid of Katniss, it's an easy way to get rid of her rather than making this darling a martyr by killing her out and about. I get that it could be a clean slate. Let's just get rid of the whole lot and let's start again. But it's also like, this is dangerous. This was a dangerous choice to make. Did you really think you could control the Capitol? Because I think the districts, it's just going to keep beating them down. And I think for a lot of the districts, by showing the victors being thrust back into the games, you know, even your strongest among you will not escape justice of the Capitol. I think a lot of the districts would just be like, well, there's no point. If the victors can't survive, then what's the point of us doing it? There will always be people who will sit there and go, but that's not fair, it's not just. People like Gale, and obviously District 11, who have clearly been suffering for some time in their district. And I'm just wondering the balance between risking upsetting the Capitol and actually getting rid of a symbol of rebellion. That balance that Snow has clearly gone through, and it's like, well, we know he does everything for a reason. And did he genuinely believe this was the right thing to do in order to quash a rebellion? It's really fascinating that these books just make you think so much over just little lines like that. Anyway, so the games themselves, obviously, are based around a clock, tick-tock. Thank you, Wireless. and each slither of the clock has got its own vicious method of trying to kill you, and the whole plan that they concoct, so you get the alliance that builds up, Finnick showing Haymitch's bracelet that Effie's given Haymitch, we're on the same side kind of thing. Oh, Finnick's story. And the trouble is, because we see these from Katniss's point of view, and she does kind of dismiss Finnick quite early on as like this airhead lad who's like all big grin and cheese and this like sex symbol and all that. And then as she gets to see Finnick in the games, she understands that actually they're more alike than any other person in that arena. Her and Finnick, whether she realises it or not, Finnick definitely does, they understand each other, they understand what each other's ticks. And I like that Finnick realises that Katniss loves Peter before Katniss realises she loves Peter. After Finnick saves Peter's life, and she's so grateful and all that. And Finnick's looking at with this look of like, oh, okay then. And we hear later in Mockingjay, that's when I knew you loved Peter. And she goes, I didn't even know. I was like, why would she know? So anyway, so we have this alliance. They're then going to come up with this plan. BT's got this plan where he's going to electrocute the water system and then hopefully get rid of all the tributes that are against him. And then it turns into something else. Again, of course, because we only know from Katniss's point of view, we don't realise that actually this is the rebellion's way of getting her out. They've got to get her out. They need her as a symbol of the rebellion. And they're going to bring down the games. They're going to literally bring down the dome that's over the games. And we get this great scene where you watch Katniss literally figuring out what BT was trying to do with the wire. And as she's just sitting there going, hold on, who's on my side, who's not on my side? And Finnick shouting, remember who the real enemy is, which is what Haymitch says to her before she goes into the games. And, you know, her sitting there going, what am I doing? What was BT trying to do? He was going to bring down the dome. He was going to get us out of here. And she fires the arrow and then massive electric shock and everything. And then the anger that she has at the end, that she's been manipulated. She's been completely manipulated by the rebellion. They've kept her out the loot. And it's cost her Peter because they didn't tell her anything. And she's been used. She's had to pretend in the first Hunger Games. And she's been used this entire time by the rebellion. And they've left Peter behind. The kind one. The decent one. The one that deserved to have a life. And they left him behind. She's so angry. Just that hurt that she feels that she trusted Haymitch, and he didn't tell her. He kept her in the dark. And it's like, well, where's Peter? And it's like, Capital's got him. And she's so gutted. And I love the bit when Gale walks in. Oh my God. I really don't like Gale. I know, I was never a Gale fan. Even the first time when I read it, I did not like him. But rereading these, oh my God. He's awful. He's an awful person, people. Please, he's awful. And when he comes in, and he's like trying to make it better and everything. Okay, until one day I open my eyes and find someone I cannot block out looking down at me. Someone who will not plead or explain or think he can alter my design with entreaties because he alone really knows how I operate. Gale, I whisper. Hello, catnip. Which I think is like the first line he says to her in the first book. Prim, I gasp. She's alive, so is your mother. I got them out in time, he says. They're not in District 12, I ask. After the games, they sent in planes, dropped firebombs. He hesitates. Well, you know what happened to the Hob. There is no District 12. I mean, it's literally how the book ends. Katniss, Gale says softly. I recognise that voice. It's the same one he uses to approach wounded animals before he delivers a death blow. Oh, he's talking to her as though she is a piece of prey. I know it's to soothe her. I know it's to get her to understand. But it's like, it's the same voice he uses when he's about to kill a wounded animal. There is no District 12. And that's how it ends. I mean, that's a bombshell. We have to wait a year for this next book. A year. But yeah, Finnick coming in just before all that. Katniss, I'm sorry. Finnick's voice comes from the bed next to me and slips into my consciousness. Perhaps because we're in the same kind of pain. I wanted to go back for him and Joanna, but I couldn't move. I don't answer. Finnick O'Dare's good intentions mean less than nothing. It's better for him than Joanna. They'll figure out he doesn't know anything pretty fast, and then they won't kill him if they think they can use him against you, says Finnick. He's already warning her. He's telling her literally what he has been living through since he won his games. Like bait, I say to the ceiling, like how they'll use Annie for bait, Finnick. Because obviously she's overheard Finnick going, you need to get Annie out. And Plutarch refuses. He won't get her. And it's like, this is a girl he loves immensely, who he's been protecting since he won the games, with the only thing he has to offer the capital, and that's his body. And they won't go and get her. And it's the same with Peter. They've left Peter. And it's like, Peter knows nothing. He's been left out of the loop. He knows nothing. But they'll keep him alive in order to get Katniss. And Finnick's telling her this while they're in this drugged up state. But yeah, I love it. Finnick is just... yeah. I mean, that lad. So, Catch a Fire. I mean, there's lots I could talk about in here. Little things, you know, the pearl on the beach. That's so sweet. Helping the Morphling pass after they've been murdered. And Peter is drawing flowers with them with the blood. Just to soothe them in their pain as they go. Peter is about kindness. And Katniss is about survival. And what's really interesting is how time and time again that kindness always wins over. You know, Katniss was kind to Rue. She's kind to Prim by keeping Buttercup and feeding him. It's little things. I mean, she doesn't even think of herself as being kind. She just does what she needs to do. But she always says Peter is kind. He's kind to everyone, regardless. You know, he's always sitting there going, well, they don't know better when it comes to the capital. And it's, you know, Gale's like, well, of course they should know better. And it's like, but they don't. You know, Peter is about compassion. He is about being the best that we could possibly be as a species. That's my rambling response to Catching Fire. So it's not really a review. I mean, there are plenty of reviews of Catching Fire, but this is how these books make me feel. The anger, the frustration, the pain, the realisation that we will never learn to stop using each other as a tool for hatred, that we won't ever stop hurting somebody else in order to make ourselves feel that little bit better. These are amazing books. Leave your thoughts down below. There will probably be spoilers down there, so you know, if you've not read Catching Fire, be aware of the spoilers. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below, your favourite bits of Catching Fire and all that. As always, thank you very much for watching and happy reading. Bye.